Hello friends, welcome to another voyage that we are taking together as we connect across time and space here now in the present moment, which is always shifting. And so I am here at Wakulla Springs in Florida, and I am driving back out to Sedona. I came to pick up my sweet 4Runner SUV mountain truck for mountain adventures and to do permaculture out in Sedona and to start building with stone. So exciting things in the works that I look forward to updating you all on as things evolve. I am definitely accepting donations for gas money and food right now. You all know, anyone who's been following this, I have a new job at an amazing apothecary, and that's providing lots of abundance. But on pretty short notice, I had to get out and get my sweet 25-year-old celebrating the, I don't know what that's called. It's not the centennial, that's 100. But anyway, whatever it be, 25 years period of this sweet Toyota, great Japanese vehicle, and it's a manual and it's got a sunroof, and planning on bringing my friends on lots of adventures as we are coming together really to love our planet and really appreciate nature and find harmony with nature and just allow our planet to really thrive, in big part by enjoying the nature and spending time in peaceful environments with these subtle energies and the stillness and quiet that we find in places like Wakulla Springs, where I just took a nice dip and got some sunshine. So I am taking donations. If any of you kind souls feel called to support my work, to do journeys like this and to come to special places like this, I have Venmo at Hanna in the Light, HANNAINTHELIGHT at Proton, PROTON.ME. And if it asks for my phone number, it's 727-554-5850. Now, I am driving cross country, so if there's anyone out there that would like to really be a bigger part of this and wants to cook me a meal and let me park in your driveway for the night and we talk about physics, please reach out. I'll be driving through Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, and then to New Mexico, and then Arizona. So anyone out there watching it that things are really coming together right now, and organizing in the physical and getting to meet each other in the physical for me is a real gift. So I just wanted to put that out there. But if you want to send me some gas, nourishment for this beautiful Silver Surfer vehicle, Silver Saucer, another little spaceship for me to zoom around in, then please feel free to send any amount, really. Even $1 would be amazing. And it allows you to participate in a deeper way, energetically, to support this information that I'm sharing with you all, and really this journey, as I say many times, that this is a journey that we're taking together, and I'm merely the tour guide, but we are all doing this together. You all watching is what makes it alive. So, okay, so on to today's content. This is a beautiful room, and I felt like called to just come here, and I saw an encyclopedia set, and I said, oh gosh, let's see if I can find Planck in here, and it's the Encyclopedia Brittanica. I am just gonna go ahead and just start reading, but just to show you all the picture of Mr. Max Planck. So I just wanted to go ahead and just read it because I've actually been curious myself to know more about this beautiful soul whose discovery of these smallest units of time and length and weight, which really, and I'll be covering this soon because I was kind of surprised and myself that it didn't come up in the most recent episode about Planck, because it's sort of a fundamental part. But I suppose those things, it was good to cover those things anyway. But fundamentally, Planck is measured in joule seconds, which I did go over that part, but it's radiation of light, or light is one of the forms of radiation. But we can think of that as like a more fundamental way to look at Planck is joule seconds. So in each second, how many joules of radiation are being released as a particle travels across time and space. And that, of course, is an illusion, like we talk about many times, or like I say many times, and we look at together this many worlds interpretation, where it's frames stitched together and the frames shift to give the illusion of time and space, to give the illusion of a particle or ray of light traveling and emitting radiation. So if we slow it down, we would see the individual frames. But if we want to speak of it as the motion that we experience and we get to see, we can picture, particle of light traveling and emitting the light as it travels through, as one form of radiation, light, heat. So anyway, so let's hear what Encyclopedia Brittanica has to say about Mr. Max Planck. Max Planck made many contributions to theoretical physics, but his fame rests primarily on his role as originator of the quantum theory. This theory revolutionized our understanding of atomic and subatomic processes, just as Albert Einstein's theory of relativity revolutionized our understanding of space and time. Together, they constitute the fundamental theories of 20th century physics. Both have forced man to revise, and women, men and women, to revise, and I'm going to try not to revise this too much, but it may be hard at times. Both have forced man to revise some of his most cherished philosophical beliefs, and both have led to industrial and military applications that affect every aspect of modern life. Early life. Max Carl Ernst Ludwig Planck was born on April 23, 1858 in Kiel, Germany, the sixth child of a distinguished jurist and professor of law at the University of Kiel. The long family tradition of devotion to church and state, excellence in scholarship, incorruptibility, conservatism, idealism, reliability, and generosity became deeply ingrained in Planck's own life and work. When Planck was 9 years old, his father received an appointment at the University of Munich, and Planck entered the city's renowned Maximilian Gymnasium, where a teacher, Hermann Müller, stimulated his interest in physics and mathematics. But Planck excelled in all subjects, and after graduation at age 17, he faced a difficult career decision. He ultimately chose physics over classical philology, or music, because he had dispassionately reached the conclusion that it was in physics that his greatest originality lay. Music, nonetheless, remained an integral part of his life. He possessed the gift of absolute pitch and was an excellent pianist who daily found serenity and delight at the keyboard, enjoying especially the works of Schubert and Brahms. He also loved the outdoors, taking long walks each day and hiking and climbing in the mountains on vacation, even in advanced old age. I'm liking this guy more and more all the time. It's amazing. Planck entered the University of Munich in the fall of 1874, but found little encouragement there from physics professor Philip von Jolly. During his Wanderjahr, 1877 to 78, that's seems to be a German term that I feel like means wonder year, which is perhaps after college where people travel, perhaps. Oh no, excuse me, I'm incorrect. During his Wanderjahr at the University of Berlin, we'll have to look into that and put it in the show notes, what it is. Okay, during his Wanderjahr at the University of Berlin, he was unimpressed by the lectures of Hermann von Helmholtz and Gustav Robert Kirchhoff, despite their eminence as research scientists. His intellectual capacities were, however, brought to a focus as the result of his independent study. Wow! Especially of Rudolf Clausius's writings on thermodynamics. Returning to Munich, he received his doctoral degree in July 1879, the year of Einstein's birth, interesting, at the unusually young age of 21. The following year, he completed his Habilitationsschrift, which are, and I'm not sure of the correct pronunciation of that, it's a German word, but that says in parentheses, the English, that's his qualifying dissertation. So the following year, he completed his Habilitationsschrift, qualifying dissertation at Munich, and became a Privatdozent, lecturer. In 1885, with the help of his father's professional connections, he was appointed Außerordentlicher Professor, which is associate professor, at the University of Kiel. In 1889, after the death of Kirchhoff, Planck received an appointment to the University of Berlin, where he came to venerate Helmholtz as mentor and colleague. In 1892, he was promoted to Ordentlicher Professor, full professor. Apologies for the German. I didn't realize I would need to pronounce German for this. He had only 9 doctoral students altogether, but his Berlin lectures on all branches of theoretical physics went through many editions and exerted great influence. He remained in Berlin for the rest of his life. Planck recalled that his original decision to devote myself to science was a direct result of the discovery that the laws of human reasoning coincide with the laws governing the sequences of the impressions we receive from the world about us, that therefore pure reasoning can enable man to gain an insight into the mechanism of the world. That was a direct quote from Planck. He deliberately decided, in other words, to become a theoretical physicist at a time when theoretical physics was not yet recognized as a discipline in its own right. But he went further. He concluded that the existence of physical laws presupposes that the outside world is something independent from man, something absolute. And the quest for the laws which apply to this absolute appeared as the most sublime scientific pursuit in life. The first instance of an absolute in nature that impressed Planck deeply, even as a gymnasium student, was the law of the conservation of energy, the first law of thermodynamics. Later, during his university years, he became equally convinced that the entropy law, the second law of thermodynamics, was also an absolute law of nature. The second law became the subject of his doctoral dissertation at Munich, and it lay at the core of the researches that led him to discover the quantum of action, now known as Planck's constant H, in 1900. In 1859 to 1860, Kirchhoff had defined a black body as an object that re-emits all of the radiant energy incident upon it, i.e., it is a perfect emitter and absorber of radiation. There was, therefore, something absolute about black body radiation, and by the 1890s, various experimental and theoretical attempts had been made to determine its spectral energy distribution, the curve displaying how much radiant energy is emitted at different frequencies for a given temperature of the black body. Planck was particularly attracted to the formula found in 1896 by his colleague Wilhelm Wien at the Physikalische Technische Reichsanstalt (PTR) in Berlin-Charlottenburg, and he subsequently made a series of attempts to derive Wien's law on the basis of the second law of thermodynamics. By October 1900, however, other colleagues at the PTR, the experimentalists Otto Richard Lummer, Ernst Pringsheim, Heinrich Rubens, and Ferdinand Krolbaum, had found definite indications that Wien's law, while valid at high frequencies, broke down completely at low frequencies. Planck learned of these results just before a meeting of the German Physical Society on October 19th. He knew how the entropy of the radiation had to depend mathematically upon its energy in the high frequency region if Wien's law held there. He also saw that this dependence had to be in the low frequency region in order to reproduce the experimental results there. Planck guessed, therefore, that he should try to combine these two expressions in the simplest way possible, and to transform the result into a formula relating the energy of the radiation to its frequency. Planck's formulation was hailed as indisputably correct. To Planck, however, it was simply a guess, a lucky intuition. If it was to be taken seriously, it had to be derived somehow from first principles. That was the task to which Planck immediately directed his energies. And by December 14th, 1900, he had succeeded, but at great cost. To achieve his goal, Planck found that he had to relinquish one of his own most cherished beliefs. Wow. That the second law of thermodynamics was an absolute law of nature. Yes. I'm just celebrating because when I read this second law of entropy, the bells went off in my head. Okay, what about neg entropy? Did they know about neg entropy then? So this is just kind of exciting to follow his path. Okay, so he had to relinquish the second law of thermodynamics, that was an absolute law of nature. Instead, he had to embrace Ludwig Boltzmann's interpretation that the second law was a statistical law. In addition, Planck had to assume that the oscillators comprising the black body and re-emitting the radiant energy incident upon them could not absorb this energy continuously, but only in discrete amounts, in quanta of energy. Only by statistically distributing these quanta, each containing an amount of energy, hv, which we did look at in that last video of Planck, h times v, v referring to frequency, if I remember correctly. So Planck times frequency. Okay, each containing an amount of energy, hv, proportional to its frequency. I might be incorrect about that. We'll have to revisit it. Over all of the oscillators present in the black body, could Planck derive the formula he had hit upon 2 months earlier. Okay, I'm just going to read that sentence once again. Only by In addition, Planck had to assume that the oscillators comprising the black body and re-emitting the radiant energy incident upon them could not absorb this energy continuously, but only in discrete amounts. And this is very much in line with many worlds interpretation. We talk about separate frames, but we're flying through them to give the illusion of continuity, the illusion of smoothly moving through time and space, but the frames are just refreshing so fast. And you could think that, in a sense, we're not even moving anywhere ever. It's, we're always here. So this idea of discrete quantities and this separation, which we talked about before, how this is a game of separation that we play, this one infinite consciousness that we are playing this game of illusion, pretending the chair is separate and there's a book here and the table and you're there and I'm here. So this is just really beautiful to really slow down and unpack it because it's kind of a huge sentence. Okay, so the black body, the oscillators of the black body are okay, so this is working with quanta of energy, these discrete amounts. And only by statistically distributing these quanta, each containing an amount of energy, HV, proportional to its frequency over all the oscillators present in the black body, could Planck derive the formula he had hit upon 2 months earlier. He adduced additional evidence for the importance of his formula by using it to evaluate the constant H. His value is 6.55 times 10 to the negative 27 erg second, that's ERG dash second, close to the modern value, as well as the so-called Boltzmann constant, the fundamental constant in kinetic theory and statistical mechanics, Avogadro's number, and the charge of the electron. As time went on, physicists recognized ever more clearly that because Planck's constant was not zero, but had a small but finite value, the microphysical world, the world of atomic dimensions, could not in principle be described by ordinary classical mechanics. A profound revolution in physical theory was in the making. Planck's concept of energy quanta, in other words, conflicted fundamentally with all past physical theory. He was driven to introduce it strictly by the force of his logic. He was, as one historian put it, a reluctant revolutionary. Indeed, it was years before the far-reaching consequences of Planck's achievement were generally recognized, and in this Einstein played a central role. In 1905, independently of Planck's work, Einstein argued that under certain circumstances, radiant energy itself seemed to consist of quanta, light quanta, later called photons. And in 1907, he showed the generality of the quantum hypothesis by using it to interpret the temperature dependence of the specific heats of solids. In 1909, he introduced the wave-particle duality into physics. In October 1911, I guess that's talking about Einstein. In October 1911, he was among the group of prominent physicists who attended the first Solvay conference in Brussels. The discussions there stimulated Henri Poincaré to provide a mathematical proof that Planck's radiation law necessarily required the introduction of quanta, a proof that converted James, later Sir James, Jean, and others into supporters of the quantum theory. In 1913, Niels Bohr also contributed greatly to its establishment through his quantum theory of the hydrogen atom. Ironically, Planck himself was one of the last to struggle for a return to classical theory. Interesting. A stance he later regarded not with regret, but as a means by which he had thoroughly convinced himself of the necessity of the quantum theory. Opposition to Einstein's radical light quantum hypothesis of 1905 persisted until after the discovery of the Compton effect in 1922. Later life. Planck was 42 years old in 1900 when he made the famous discovery that in 1918 won him the Nobel Prize for Physics and that brought him many other honors. It is not surprising that he subsequently made no discoveries of comparable importance. Nevertheless, he continued to contribute at a high level to various branches of optics, thermodynamics and statistical mechanics, physical chemistry, and other fields. He was also the first prominent physicist to champion Einstein's special theory of relativity in 1905. The velocity of light is to the theory of relativity, Planck remarked, as the elementary quantum of action is to the quantum theory. It is its absolute core. In 1914, Planck and the physical chemist Walter Hermann Nernst succeeded in bringing Einstein to Berlin, and after the war in 1919, arrangements were made for Max von Laue, Planck's favorite student, to come to Berlin as well. When Planck retired in 1928, another prominent theoretical physicist, Erwin Schrödinger, the originator of wave mechanics, was chosen as his successor. For a time, therefore, Berlin shone brilliantly as a center of theoretical physics, until darkness enveloped it in January 1933 with the ascent of Adolf Hitler to power. In his later years, Planck devoted more and more of his writings to philosophical, aesthetic, and religious questions. Together with Einstein and Schrödinger, he remained adamantly opposed to the indeterministic, statistical worldview introduced by Bohr, Max Born, Werner Heisenberg, and others into physics after the advent of quantum mechanics in 1925 to 1926. Such a view was not in harmony with Planck's deepest intuitions and beliefs. The physical universe, Planck argued, is an objective entity existing independently of man. Interesting. The observer and the observed are not intimately coupled. Interesting. So Planck was arguing for this physical universe being existing independently of man. Sounds like a very separate kind of, he was playing that game, that illusion game of separation and seeing things as separate. So the physical universe, Planck argued, is an objective entity existing independently of man. The observer and the observed are not intimately coupled as Bohr and his school would have it. That's what Planck argued. That's what he was stating, which is quite interesting to read. Planck became permanent secretary of the mathematics and physics sections of the Prussian Academy of Sciences in 1912 and held that position until 1938. He was also president of the Kaiser Wilhelm Society, now the Max Planck Society, from 1930 to 1937. These offices and others placed Planck in a position of great authority, especially among German physicists. Seldom were his decisions or his advice questioned. His authority, however, stemmed fundamentally not from the official appointments he held, but from his personal moral force. His fairness, integrity, and wisdom were beyond question. It was completely in character that Planck went directly to Hitler in an attempt to reverse Hitler's devastating racial policies, and that he chose to remain in Germany during the Nazi period to try to preserve what he could of German physics. Planck was a man of indomitable will. Had he been less stoic and had he less philosophical and religious conviction, he could scarcely have withstood the tragedies that entered his life after age 50. In 1909, his first wife, Marie Merck, the daughter of a Munich banker, died after 22 years of happy marriage, leaving Planck with 2 sons and twin daughters. The elder son, Karl, was killed in action in 1916. The following year, Margaret, one of his daughters, died in childbirth, and in 1919, the same fate befell Emma, his other daughter. Wow, that's quite a bit of heartbreak in a very short period of time. That's wow. That's goodness, what a story he wrote for himself in his life, or what a story he lived. World War II brought further tragedy. Planck's house in Berlin was completely destroyed by bombs in 1944. Far worse, the younger son, Erwin, was implicated in the attempt made on Hitler's life on July 20th, 1944. Oh my goodness. Wow, Planck was, there's some connections there. Wow. This is more than just the physics. This is pretty deep. Okay, so his younger son, which would have been the only son remaining, was implicated in the attempt made on Hitler's life in 1944. And in early 1945, he died a horrible death at the hands of the Gestapo. Wow. That merciless act destroyed Planck's will to live. At war's end, American officers took Planck and his second wife, Marga von Hoesslin, whom he had married in 1910 and by whom he had one son. So he did have another son, to Göttingen. There, on October 4th, 1947, in his 89th year, he died. Death, in the words of James Franck, came to him as a redemption. Okay, I'm gonna read the bibliography here because I feel like this is part of it. It's where all this information came from. So, technical books that treat Planck's work and the history of quantum physics include Max Jammer, The Conceptual Development of Quantum Mechanics, 1966, Edmund T. Whittaker, A History of the Theories of Ether and Electricity, wow. Revised and Enlarged Edition, Volume 2, The Modern Theories, 1900 to 1926. Wow. So that I'm now wanting to go look up that book, A History of the Theories of Ether, spelled A-E-T-H-E-R, and Electricity. And that's by Hans Kangro, K-A-N, oh no, excuse me. That's Edmund Whittaker. So next we have Hans Kangro, K-A-N-G-R-O, Early History of Planck's Radiation Law. And that was written in 1976. We have a book by Armin Hermann, The Genesis of Quantum Theory, 1899 to 1913. Thomas S. Kuhn, that's K-U-H-N, Black Body Theory and the Quantum Discontinuity, 1894 to 1912. Jagdish Mehra and Helmut Rechenberg. I'm not going to be able to read all these names. Okay. Oh my gosh. Wow, I just saw something. Okay, I'll get to this. Jagdish Mehra and Helmut Rechenberg, The Historical Development of Quantum Theory. Roger Stewart, The Compton Effect, Turning Point in Physics, from 1975. Non-technical books include, this is what got me excited, include, written by Barbara Lovett Klein. Okay, now I have to pause here for a moment because my mother's birth name is Barbara Lovett, spelled exactly the same. B-A-R-B-A-R-A-L-O-V-E-T-T. And actually, the fact that my grandmother's last name had the word love in it, and that was also, that's also that's my mom's middle name. I feel she's okay with me sharing that. I mean, it's got the word love in it, so it's just a really special thing. And she's a very special person as well, as my grandmother was. And I've told you all how the Seven Heaven Home was inspired by my grandmother, Barbara Lovett, Chevley, her last words were 7 Heaven, and she passed on September 7th. And she was very psychic and intuitive her whole life. And so, actually, I suppose this might be the first time I'm sharing this with you all, but that house, the name for that home, and there's other names that have, many names actually for it, but the 7 Heaven home, that name comes from my grandmother. So I just seeing her name unexpectedly pop out like that just has my cheeks in workout mode. So, okay, so this is a non-technical book written by Barbara Levitt Klein that was referenced in this material called The Questioners, Physicists and the Quantum Theory from 1965. I do feel called to go look that book up now for sure. Emilio Segre, From X-Rays to Quarks, Modern Physicists and Their Discoveries, 1980. Alex Keller, The Infancy of Atomic Physics, Hercules in His Cradle, 1983. Especially noteworthy are 3 articles by Martin J. Klein, Max Planck and the Beginnings of Quantum Theory, Archive for History of Exact Sciences, Planck, Entropy, that was 1962, Planck, Entropy and Quanta, 1901 to 1906, The Natural Philosopher, 1963, and Thermodynamics and Quanta in Planck's work, Physics Today, 1966. So these are some magazines, it seems, articles from Martin Klein. Planck described his life and work in his scientific autobiography and other papers. That's the title, 1949. Valuable insights may be found in the obituary notices of Planck by Max Born, obituary notices of Fellows of the Royal Society of London, 1948 to 1949, James Franck, Science, Walter Meissner, Science, and Lise Meitner, Max Planck als Mensch, Naturwissenschaften, the short biography by Hans Kangro in the Dictionary of Scientific Biography, I'm not reading all of the exact details, is excellent. There are 2 valuable biographies in German, Armin Hermann, Max Planck in Selbstzeugnissen und Bilddokumenten. Okay, I'm basically, if I'm going to read foreign words, I want to pronounce them precisely. So last few things, Henry Lowood, Max Planck, about a bibliography of his non-technical writings, 1977, a listing of more than 600 articles published between 1879 and 1976, and Ilse Rosenthal Schneider, Reality and Scientific Truth, Discussions with Einstein, von Lau, and Planck, written in 1980. Okay, whew, that was great, wow. I'm so grateful to share that with you all. Wow, born in 1858, and then passed in 1947. So just wonderful to finally know more about this beautiful, brilliant person that contributed so much to where we're at now in our comprehension of this natural world. So I will keep flowing. I'm going to go get some nourishment from the restaurant here at this beautiful, beautiful historic hotel. And this is also where the Creature from the Black Lagoon was filmed. And it's also where Tarzan was filmed. So, and there's just a really, oh gosh, I always want to share so much with you all, but it's getting late and this has been going for 40 minutes. So anyway, yeah, Wakulla Springs, Wakulla, magical spot, and it's starting to get dark, but this has just been quite a delight. I really did feel called here, and I feel like this was a part of it, but just to be in this lovely space here. The chessboard behind me, beautiful large stone chessboard. Anyway, I could show you, I would love to show you all around, but maybe you all visit here someday, or someone out there watching this has already been or will go. I'm going to continue on my journey. So much love to you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining this now moment. So grateful for you all. Really, you being here means so much to me. Okay, until next time, take care.